Our guest today is Joel Lyons. Joel has Lyons Tree Farm near Walcott, North Dakota. Hello, Joel. How are you today?
Good. How you doing?
Great. It really looks like it as I looked at your website. As you said, evergreens were one of your favorites coming out of Western South Dakota. You probably didn't have near as many, which is maybe why they got to be a little bit more near and dear to your heart. Are all the trees that you have acclimated for our northern climates? Are they coming from North Dakota State or University of Minnesota or anything like that, Joel?
Yes, they are actually. All my seed stock comes from North Dakota. I work with the Towner State Nursery at Towner, North Dakota. Um, they provide me with, Blackfield spruce, Colorado blue spruce, Meyer spruce, Scotch pine, ponderosa pine, eastern red cedar, Rocky Mountain juniper. Those are all the types of evergreens that I grow. So yeah, the seed is. I think most of their seed is actually obtained from North Dakota sources. They grow the seed stock to seedling-sized trees. They are bare roots seedlings when I get them, and then I bring them down to my area and we plant them there, and so they're acclimated to our area. Um,
Hmm.
the trees I grow, they've been grown here from seedlings or from seed actually in North Dakota, so it's
So,
not like we're
Joel,
bringing them
with
in
the
from out of state or anything.
you had mentioned that you have gotten into more and more trees. You focused on the evergreens. What other kinds of trees are you growing? And of those, are there any unique trees in a way?
Um, okay, so really the only trees I grow are evergreens. I do also grow quaking aspen because they naturally grow in my
Oh,
area and they do really well.
Hmm.
So they're an easy tree to grow for me, and they're a fairly popular tree, even for city areas and whatnot. I sell a lot of them. Um,
Hmm.
Other varieties such as maples, lindens and fruit trees and those sort of trees. I do not grow them myself. I actually have suppliers out of state that I get them from. I
Hmm.
sell both bare root and potted trees, which is kind of unique because bare root trees aren't always easy to find. And I'm not
Right.
talking like seedling type size trees. I'm talking large trees. I got a big walk-in cooler at my facility that I've constructed. It's like 24 wide or 24 long by 12-foot wide, and
Hmm.
it's refrigerated. I can cool that to. I usually keep it around 36 degrees in there, and trees get watered twice a day. So those trees you can actually just take them right out of the cooler and put them in the ground. Most people don't realize it, but most of your potted trees, um, they're not grown in a pot from a small size. They're actually were a tree grown in a field somewhere that's dug out of the field and then usually stored in a cooler for an extended period of time as a bare root tree, and then they're put back into a pot, and then they're sold in the pot that way. So they're not really grown in the pot for an extended period of time, maybe only for 6 months to a year or something like that.
Joel, I was wondering because when you had first gotten into trees and growing trees, you'd said you didn't have much education or knowledge behind what was going on, and you just kind of went head first into it. And here you are today running your own tree farm. But is there any science or knowledge that you've picked up over the years that would make you a good tree farmer, or different sciences when it comes to the soil mixtures based on trees, what they like better, and in return they grow better?
Well, that's all species dependent. Evergreens in specific like the really sandy soils. That's what I'm growing because I'm in sandy soil. The real key to growing trees isn't necessarily always just the soil in particular. Obviously, there's some trees that can grow in certain soils and some can't. However, uh, if you're going to do a tree planting, the things I really recommend is watering, number one, um, weed control, number two, and then if you're able to mulch the trees, because mulch holds the moisture. Actually, if you use natural wood mulch, that actually returns nutrients into the soil as well. But when you think about a tree that's in a pot or a bare root one or one that's been dug out of the ground, that tree isn't like your normal tree that's just sitting there living there. You think that tree has roots going out, some of them hundreds of feet out from them. So when you get a tree, you initially plant it, you pull it out of that pot or you put it in the ground bare root, that tree only is able to get everything it needs in a short distance from the tree. So if you're not supplying that tree with extra water, you know, it needs some help. You know, it can't get by on its own typically the first year or two. So that's really key.
And Joel, I noticed on your website, not only do you dabble in trees, but you've got trapping supplies. I got to ask you about a few of those. Those are pretty unique. And you deal with the metal art that you have on your website. Do you do that yourself?
Yeah, I actually got a buddy that has the laser cutter machine and whatnot, and I've worked with him many years doing that. And also trapping supplies. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, the metal art is just amazing. How long does it take to make one of those? I guess each one is different, but
you know, the machine that we use, it don't take long at all. It's all what's called CNC. It's computerized programming that does that. So it's not really a whole lot that's done by hand. However, yeah, we've done quite a few shows. We've been the Pride of Dakota shows throughout the state for many years, selling our metal art, and you know, I sell it at different events and whatnot. And then as far as the trapping supplies, I've been a trapper for many years. I actually work for USDA Wildlife Services also. I help farmers and ranchers with livestock protection and beaver control and stuff like that for the highway departments and the water boards and whatnot. So that's kind of right up my alley. So that's kind of how I got all into that. However, I will mention that the tree business has gotten done so well for me in recent years that I'm actually maybe phasing out of some of this other stuff just because it's we're a family-run business. I got my wife and 2 kids, and it's just there's only so many hours in a day for me to get all my stuff done. So I'm finding that I maybe have a few too many irons in the fire, so I'm maybe going to be scaling back a little bit on some of the stuff.
Now, have you noticed over the last few years an increase in families coming to your tree farm, you know, around Christmas time? Or has that kind of backed off where more people you feel are buying artificial trees?
You know, actually, I've only sold Christmas trees for the last couple of years. I'm primarily growing trees for landscaping or for shelter belts or conservation, things like that. I've just found that I have more satisfaction actually taking the tree and seeing somebody else take it and plant it. And I mean, I've been doing this for so many years. It's like everywhere I go around the country, I'm driving around. It's like, oh, those are my trees. Those are my trees. You know, it's just kind of fun to see a tree that I grew from a small seedling up to a 5 to 6 footer, and now I drive by and that thing's like 15 to 20 foot and still alive. So, and I, you know, I'm not a huge operation. I only have a limited amount of land. So, honestly, if you're doing Christmas trees, you're going to need quite a bit of land and a lot larger inventory of trees to be able to provide for that. However, I don't think the interest in live Christmas trees is waning any. You know, I usually sell out all the Christmas trees I have to offer, and people still calling wanting more. So I haven't seen really a decline in that.
Is the evergreen your best seller?
I would say that's kind of what my main focus is. Yeah, I would say so. I mean, my operation is very unique. Usually people that have tree farms, they're more wholesale, where I'm actually not a wholesale operation. I'm actually a retail operation. So people come to me to buy the trees directly, you know, rather than I sell to a retailer and then they resell the trees. So in that sense, I'm kind of unique where people can actually come to my farm and pick the trees they want. We can dig them. Either that I'll have them dug up already. It's kind of a unique buying experience. And I always say coming to our tree farm, a lot of people don't realize we're even here. We're only a short 35-minute drive from Fargo. You know, people that come out, they're like, wow, this is really interesting out here. You know, we're so much different than the Red River Valley. It's hilly, wooded. People are just amazed that they've never been out before, how different it is out here. And I always think it's more of an experience than just buying a tree when you come out to visit us. We try to treat people right and take care of them and provide good customer service. I actually do some planting services as well. And a lot of my customers are repeat customers, so I guess I must be doing something right if they keep coming back.
Well, Joel, we've been taking a look through your website here while you've been answering our questions, and I see some of the trees you have. It looks like they're ranging for anywhere from 5 to 25 gallon buckets and burlaps, and that raises the question because not everybody has the means of going and picking up a burlap or a 3 to 6 foot tree. Uh, they weigh a lot. Do you do any delivery or planting for your customers, or are you more or less basically you come in, you pick it up, and then you take it away?
We're both. I sell a lot of cash and carry type trees. Also, we can deliver and do plantings for customers. Um, I've actually had quite a few different jobs around Fargo and different areas. I've supplied trees for the highway department. Some of the ownerships or homeowner places in Fargo I've done projects for, Riley's Acres. I've done a lot of work with farmers, small towns, golf courses, parks. I really
Mhm.
get a lot of satisfaction out of that, enjoy it. It's not all about just doing the work with the people you meet and the relationships you form, and I just get a lot of satisfaction out of doing that and working with people in that way.
Right. And how about competition around the area? I mean, are there other tree farms out there? How many are there, I guess? Maybe that's not, the question, but how is competition and how do you stack up against that with other tree farms around our area? There's a lot of people out in Lakes Country that like to plant new evergreens around their yard or kind of fence their yard in with the evergreens. Do you get a lot of people from out there coming to you?
I do. I get people coming from near and far. I mean, I've had people come as far as Dickinson, Williston, quite a few customers from Minot. Had a guy this fall come from Yankton, South Dakota, out of the lakes area. I've done several tree planting jobs in the lakes area.
Hmm.
I know, North Dakota, I'm kind of unique to North Dakota. There isn't really much for tree farms. There's a bigger tree farm, Lundabee's Evergreens, up they're south of Devil's Lake, and they do wholesale versus different than myself, which I do retail. But no, I haven't really been affected. I don't feel like the competition is that great. I mean,
Hmm.
I know there's several nurseries in the area and then Fargo, but you know, I think it seems like I haven't really had a lot of trouble selling my trees, and the business has been really good. I mean, God's really blessed our business here, and I'm just thankful for what we've been able to accomplish here.
So, Joel, as you think about some of the trees that you're doing and planting, what's your most popular seller? Is it the paper birch? Is it a particular evergreen tree? You've also got some trees that are really well suited to this area, such as I think there's a crab tree, et cetera. So, and even some fruit trees. What are the most popular ones that are going out the door?
I mean, it's hard to really say. I mean, the evergreens are always really good. Spruce trees are really good. There's been a lot. Well, then your colored trees, like say your maples in the fall. Um, autumn blaze maples. Different. There's several different maples that get color. People really like those. Uh, fruit trees have been big ever since COVID hit. A lot of fruit trees have been a lot harder to get just because the demand was so great during COVID. It
Hmm.
just seemed like everybody had the idea they wanted to grow their own food, and um, I can't seem to keep fruit trees in stock. They sell very fast, and I got a good selection of fruit trees. I mean, I'm selling apple, pear, plum, cherry, berry trees, apricots, pears. I mean, I got kind of the full
Ooh.
gamut of different varieties of fruit
Mhm.
trees. So yeah, those have been really good also.
You had
I
mentioned
saw
just
the pear
there,
tree. Yeah.
I was just gonna go that direction, Bridgette. Pear trees. How I didn't know pear trees were up here until I met my wife, and her brother has a pear tree in his backyard, and I'm like, you don't have a pear tree in your backyard, and he shows me, and I'm like, this is the only pear tree I can say I've ever seen in my life. How well do pear trees do up here? Is that like a unique tree, or do they handle our climate pretty well?
They actually handle this climate quite well. You just got to select the right variety. Um,
Hmm.
obviously just like
Kind of like a
apple trees
winter
or any other
pear,
variety.
or
Yeah, I mean, you just got to get to the right, make sure it's zoned appropriately. We're like in zone 4, so you want to select a variety that's zoned for our area. And I mean, our fruit trees maybe it won't be as robust or as big a fruit as what you would go and find in the grocery store or anything like that, but it's kind of a novelty. And I mean, you can get decent amount of fruit off of some of those trees, and it's just kind of fun to have those
well,
trees,
right.
and be able to go out and pick a pear. You just don't think of that, like you say in North Dakota, to be able to go and you think
Well, yeah,
go
I
up
was just gonna
Florida or
say. I mean,
somewhere like
there's
that.
really there's nothing better than going in the backyard or out to the pasture and just picking your own fruit. I mean, it's just a fun. It's something fun to do with the kids, especially if you get a little fruit tree, and by the time, maybe that kid is big enough to kind of know what's going on to go out and pick it, it's starting to produce fruit.
Right. And with the fruit trees also, especially the pears, they need a pollination tree, and you got to kind
Hmm.
of know or understand what you're buying, because only certain varieties of pears can pollinate with other varieties of pears. So, it's good to get some advice from somebody like myself or somebody else wherever you're buying the fruit trees. Make sure when you buy the tree, a lot of these trees will need a pollination tree. So you could buy two pear trees, but if they're not able to cross pollinate, well then you're never going to get fruit, and you're going to wonder what's wrong with your tree because it never produces fruit. Well, it's because it could be a pollination issue.
Well, Joel, you might be getting a phone call from me in the near future because pear tree might be up my alley. I'll have to get that cleared with the wife. But if someone's listening, they want to pick up some of your trees, go see where your farm is at. Maybe they got a project out their cabin. They need some new trees to be planted. Where can people go to get in contact with you, see your inventory, and just see what you can provide for them?
Right, yeah. The easiest way to get a hold of me, if you want to talk to me directly, just call me on my cell phone, 701-640-0103. You can also look at my website. You can either look at that at either joellyonsenterprises.com or happyvalleytreefarm.com. We're located, like I said, just a short distance from Fargo, 35 miles. You can be out here in a half hour to 45 minutes. It's really a nice drive. It's nice and scenic here along the Cheyenne River. So Band Hills area, if you've never been out here, I'd recommend just going for a drive someday. But yeah, you can text me or whatever's easiest for you. I am on Facebook. I guess I just have a personal page. I don't have
Mhm.
a page for my business, but you can find me just Joel Lyons on Facebook. And I do some
Right, and your
some
website,
advertising.
your last name Lyons. That's Lyons, not Lion, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that could be a little confusing for some people.
Okay. Well, we'll share your website on our Facebook page as well as our YouTube video when we get this re-uploaded tomorrow. But Joel, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day, showing or telling us what it is that you do and what you can provide for, people within our community in the area. We're going to